Hey, what's up, everybody? Sorry, my video camera is not working right now. I don't know what that is or why that's occurring, but it is. So we're just gonna leave it like this for a bit and kind of go from there. A little weird, a little awkward. I don't know why it's doing this. Okay, that's also another issue too. Hmm. Try plugging this in and there we go. There we go. It works now. What's up, everybody? That feels a little bit better. It was like unnatural for a moment. By the way, guys, welcome. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's. Okay, so we're going to read the Samaritan woman today in John 4. Jesus knew the Pharisees had heard that he was baptizing and making more disciples than John. Though Jesus himself didn't baptize them, his disciples did. So he left Judea and returned to Galilee. He had to go through Samaria. On the way, eventually, he came to the Samaritan village of Sychar, near the field that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired from the long walk, sat wearily beside the well about noontime. Soon a Samaritan woman came to draw water, and Jesus said to her, "Please give me a drink." He was alone at the time because his disciples had gone to the village to buy some food. The woman was surprised, for Jews refused to have anything to do with Samaritans. She said to Jesus, "You are a Jew, and I am a Samaritan woman. Why are you asking me for a drink?" Jesus replied, "If you only knew the gift God has for you and who you're speaking to, you would ask me, and I would give you living water." "But, sir, you don't have a rope or a bucket," she said, "and this well is very deep. Where would you get this living water? And besides, do you think you're greater than our ancestor Jacob, who gave us this well? How can you offer better water than he and his sons and his animals enjoyed?" Jesus replied, "Anyone who drinks this water will soon become thirsty again. But those who drink the water I give will never be thirsty again. It becomes a fresh, bubbling spring within them, giving them eternal life." "Please, sir," the woman said, "give me this water. Then I'll never be thirsty again, and I won't have to come here to get water." "Go and get your husband," Jesus told her. "I don't have a husband," the woman replied. Jesus said, "You're right. You don't have a husband. For you've had 5 husbands, and you aren't even married to the man you're living with now. You certainly spoke the truth." "Sir," the woman said, "you must be a prophet. So tell me, why is that you Jews insist that Jerusalem is the only place of worship, while we Samaritans claim it is here at Mount Gerizim, where our ancestors worshipped?" Jesus replied, "Believe me, dear woman, the time is coming when it will no longer matter whether you worship the Father on this mountain or in Jerusalem. You Samaritans know very little about the one you worship, while we Jews know all about him, for salvation comes through the Jews. But the time is coming, indeed it is here now, when true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. The Father is looking for those who will worship him that way. For God is spirit, so those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. The woman said, I know the Messiah is coming, the one who is called Christ. When he comes, he will explain everything to us. Then Jesus told her, I am the Messiah. Sorry, guys, I'm kind of just reading through this, but some things that really stick out to me is 21, 22, 23, 24. Um, this concept of it doesn't matter where you worship God, whether it's here on the mountain or in Jerusalem, and that they know little about the ones they worship, while the Jews know all about him. The woman said, I know the Messiah is coming. And then he says, I am the Messiah. Just then his disciples came back. They were shocked to find him talking to a woman, but none of them had the nerve to ask, Why do you want what do you want with her, or why are you talking to her? The woman left her water jar beside the well and ran back to the village, telling everyone, Come and see a man who told me everything I ever did. Could he possibly be the Messiah? So the people came streaming from the village to see him. Meanwhile, the disciples were urging Jesus, Rabbi, eat something. But Jesus replied, I have a kind of food you know nothing about. Did someone bring him food while we were gone? The disciples asked each other. Christ is being fed by the Spirit. Then Jesus explained, My nourishment comes from doing the will of God who sent me and from finishing his work. You know the saying, 4 months between planting and harvesting, but I say, wake up and look around. The fields are already ripe for harvest. The harvesters are paid good wages, and the fruit they harvest is people brought to eternal life. What joy awaits both the planter and the harvester alike? You know the saying, one plants and another harvests, and it is true. I sent you to harvest where you didn't plant. Others had already done the work, and now you will go to gather the harvest. Many Samaritans believe. Many Samaritans from the village believe in Jesus because the woman had said, He told me everything I ever did. When they came out to see him, they begged him to stay in their village, so he stayed for 2 days, long enough for many more to hear his message and believe. Then they said to the woman, Now we believe not just because of what you told us, but because we have heard him ourselves. Now we know that he is indeed the Savior of the world. At the end of the 2 days, Jesus went on to Galilee. He himself had said that a prophet is not honored in his own hometown. Yet the Galileans welcomed him, for they had been in Jerusalem at the Passover celebration and had seen everything he did there. As he traveled through Galilee, he came to Cana, where he had turned the water into wine. There was a government official in nearby Capernaum whose son was very sick. When he heard that Jesus had come from Judea to Galilee, he went and begged Jesus to come to Capernaum to heal his son, who was about to die. Jesus asked, Will you never believe in me unless you see a miraculous sign and wonders? The official pleaded, Lord, please come now before my little boy dies. Then Jesus told him, Go back home, your son will live. And the man believed what Jesus said and started home. While the man was on his way, some of his servants met him with news that his son was alive and well. He asked them when the boy had begun to get better, and they replied, Yesterday afternoon at 1 o'clock, his fever suddenly disappeared. Then the father realized that that was the very time Jesus had told him, Your son will live. And he and his entire household believed in Jesus. This was the second miraculous sign Jesus did in Galilee after coming from Judea. I want to read this again tomorrow. I want to read that again tomorrow. Again tomorrow, but today is about doing this and waiting for some other things. I suppose one could say, waiting for other things to come my way. There's only so much time in the day, and I need to get quicker. So let's go check out the hydration. Some things that I do want to do here is that we have a check for the check for these. The amount updated is updated based on how many we spawn and not necessarily a representation of what is in the world. Maybe put that here. depends on how many we spawn and not a pure representation of what exists in the world. Which is rather annoying, but we use resource. So we want to update this with this. So in our interactive base, or I guess in the hydration system itself, hydrator. Okay, so in the hydrator, we do that. We check if it is a soft object, and then we remove an inventory item at that designated area. However, mm, so it's actually not on here. It's this dispenser that we want to update this. If things aren't appropriately set in this, what it's going to do is make some issues for us in the future. Boom, 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 boom. We're going to change this to this, and we're going to add it here and just say, well, if it's true, we add true. If it's false, we'll add false. And then in here, we'll just check if this contains a false narrative. And what we'll do, I guess we run a can't use dispenser. I presume we had this here in case we wanted to place some type of error. But one, if this contains this, then we need to flip it. Or I guess if we was not contains. So this is the only method to the madness. So in the case that it does not contain this, we can do this. But in the case that it does, we're going to want to run this here. And honestly, I would use an event dispatcher here and say error using dispenser. We'll have to update all of these items at some point because in the future I foresee doing some other things for these systems. But yeah, let's make it so like on the hydrator, we check if it's a soft. If it's true, we remove the item at index. And then when we remove the item at index, we also want to Um, shoot. So one thing I didn't take into consideration here in my is how much the fruits can take into account, or like the different use cases for these fruit: feeding the villagers, hydrating the cloud. Um, remove inventory item at index. Amount to take, amount index. So I guess what we need to do is hydrate the cloud. Cloud game instance. The weather gets called here, but only through the cloud. So let's get, because this isn't going to matter where we're at. We're just going to want to get the cloudkin. The cloud. We're going to get a reference. We're going to ask if this is valid. It is valid. Then from here, bam bam no 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 no. By the way, guys, just want to let you know that I love you guys. I really don't deserve you guys. So we're going to go ahead and reroute this, and we're also going to do ourselves a favor here, and we are going to dehydrator. Dehydrator! We're going to hydrate this bad boy. How do we do that? We're going to increase hydration, I guess. These little stinkers, dude. Oh. play. It's gonna get to the point where we gotta fine tune everything. Okay, so that does work now. So I think with that being updated, hey, we'll use 5. Okay. I kind of want to have this. We want to clamp this in here, but I want the hydration amount to be a... I mean, I guess we could call this hydration percent. And what this is going to do, we're going to multiply this. Not even do that. We're going to divide the max hydration here. Or I guess we divide this by the max, divide this by this. And then we add that. And we'll do like a 0.5%. Yo, Pew23, what's up, bro? How you doing? Welcome to the channel, by the way. And I'm doing good. Just fleshing out some mechanics for this game that I'm working on for Game Jam. Still a lot of things I gotta work out, but it's fine. Just working on a hydration system for our game. Right now I was doing building, but that's kind of been incorporated, so now man, that really just don't do nothing. Haven't changed it to 10%. Hmm. All right, you know what? We're just gonna add that in. Where is it? Hydration amount. So we're going to just make it a flat rate. I'm not gonna trying to figure out percentages is kind of annoying. But we're eventually going to want to base that off of, like, I don't know, fruit that we're feeding it or whatever we're feeding it. I haven't figured out what that's going to be yet, but I've been so focused on trying to get mechanics in that I haven't had time to flesh out like any ideas for this. But yeah. Manager, spawn manager pickups. Let's go to the pickups themselves. Begin overlap. So we got some begin overlap stuff, but we also want to probably create some type of timeline.
Yo, you're live with Anderson Paak. Today we're talking pro money moves. Ooh, we got our first caller.
Hey, AP. I'm paying rent straight from my bank. Is that the move?
Nuh-uh. That's how you get got. Paying bills straight from your bank can lead hackers straight to you. Not a pro move.
Wait, really? Because my boy Robbie said that when you...
Robbie.
I could just do a timeline. I'm not gonna, like... Okay, so it does work, and they do disappear. On manager pickups. Spawn distance. Location distance. Oh, y'all hating on me? No. I want to get rid of this world now. Let's create like a sphere. Why can't people just show me where the darn freaking repair button is? Oh, literally right there. Where's the button? Literally right underneath it. I just want to add a basic sphere somewhere in the world, if it'll let me. It doesn't look like it'll let me. Atmosphere. I got the atmosphere. I can't click anywhere else. I deselect. Sphere. Sphere. So the sphere, which is this big old bad boy, like the idea is that we want to get the sphere's surface, which we would probably get from so realistically what we need from the cloud so we need to like find the center of where we want to center. We need the center, not the center. We want the center, and we want a distance from the center, and then we want to rotate around it. Like when we move, we want to bind it to that. So this is a representation of our center. It's just 0, 0 coordinates. What am I doing? I need to promote this to a variable. Center of planet. Let's go ahead and do that and begin. Do all the so we make center of planet. Now we need a distance from that planet. Essentially a way to keep us in track with the distance. We need a radius, and this is going to be a float. This is 25213, 25,000. And we're going to do 25,000 for the radius. We'll probably want to make like a planet in the future, but for now we're just going to keep it like this. So we have our planet radius. Then we're going to have to create like a float that's like max altitude and then min altitude. And let's so let's compile this. And I think the min is going to be 250 above, or sorry, this is going to be about 7,000. And this is going to be about 250. So whatever the radius here is, get radius. In order to get the max altitude, right, we're going to get the planet radius and add the max altitude that we have already. And what this is going to do is essentially take into consideration the radius of the planet. No. Sorry, we want the min here. Set min max distance from max and I don't know if I need anything other than that besides to coordinate that with the player's movement. So we're always going to have it moving in the world direction. Eventually, we might want to take into consideration like winds instead of like having a perpetual movement of it moving forward.
We can help you sell, market, and hire in one place. We cannot help you find space for your 3 desk drinks. Why do you have 3? And while we can't help you find the perfect volume for your presentation video, LinkedIn can help you find the perfect audience for your business. Grow your small business on LinkedIn. Learn more at linkedin.com/smallbusiness.
So that's the center of the planet. This is the player. I'm trying to figure out because like I want it to look like the player is always Like, the surf is always flat. I want to give that idea. So we're going to probably have to rotate the player in, like rotating the player is going to be an issue. Like having it rotate with the planet. And I don't know how I'm going to do that. Maybe look online to see. And that's going to give us a direction, I believe. That's true. We don't want. Oh, yeah. Now we just gotta rotate it. I think this will be the up direction. Do like 45 and then that's Dookie. Rotate. Maybe we want to do ya since it's on the left and right. No. I'm so bad with those. I'll have to figure out what that is. So it would be the roll, wouldn't it? Yeah, would be this way. Pitch would be like this, but we want it to roll, I think.
Discount Furniture presents real 5-star reviews performed by real kids. What are people saying about my Phantom Power sofa?
I love the cloudy feeling of the recliner.
How about that Consumer Reports recommended Copper Radiance mattress?
Yeah, that is roll. So we do want to roll.
Rest. According to Rebecca J., great expectations have been met.
And for Linda L., the modular box.
We want it to roll.
Beans! Oh my!
So we have it moving around. We have it moving around, it looks like. But now we want to roll it as well. I don't know how to get it to roll. So we have our movement direction. Maybe that's all I need, I don't know. Big sad. think when we close the game, we need to... I have to do that. Before we return to the main menu, we need to throw everything back into the pool. Well, at least everything is as it was, so I just need to make a sphere. Make a sphere. And set it to 500. And then take this guy. Oh wait, no, that's like 25,000, huh? The only issue is, like, I wish I could move this guy quicker to test this stuff. Yo, what's up, Zacharan? Zacharan. Sorry if I butchered that. Right now we're just working on, like, planetary movement. What was it? Cloud hydration. We finished that like several seconds ago, or not several, like over an hour ago. Right now I'm working on getting this little cloud, which is a square right now, to rotate. Not only move around spherically, but to rotate spherically as well. And we've done that. We've got it to move spherically. But we have yet to have it rotate, which is a problem. I just want it to rotate with it now. Looks like we might have to do some different math here. Man. Hmm. the up direction and then the move direction. We'd have to get our distance from the previous. We'd have to get our previous position.
Are you the kind of person who knows things? Things like you can get a domain from Squarespace, not just a website? Well, now you are that person, because now you definitely know you can get a domain from Squarespace.
We would do this,
something like whisperingbloom.com
and
for
then
your silent retreat. Or
we get our
whisperingbloom.com for your
actor
shouting
location.
Whatever your dream,
Bring it down
Squarespace
here
Domain website
and
brings it to
create
life, all in one place.
parameter.
Get yours before it's gone with
Parameter.
% off your domain or website. Terms and conditions apply.
Make a variable. Previous position. And before we move, we would just set this. Right? Then we want to get distance. Or I guess we could get the distance from our from this and this. We want the pitch and yaw to stay the same. I can already see it's not working. I can already see that it's not working. What zero?
At Chamberlain University, we know what those alarms mean and how nurses rise to meet the moment with a rush of confidence. But we know quiet moments too, when the beeps are steady and compassion is all someone needs. We know because we're the #1 largest nursing school in the U.S., and we prepare nurses to own moments like these. To answer the call, visit chamberlain.edu. Chamberlain University. Belong to something greater. Certified to operate by Chef.
Yeah, I mean, that is 180. I'm not calculating. 88369 88369 2246 2246 25220 25220. So I'm adding the previous. I'm storing the actor's location prior to moving the actor, and then getting the current actor's location after I've stored the previous position. That's disappointment right there, brothers. It's frustrating because I can't store the. Maybe if before I move forward, I store it, huh? So, I mean, it's moving this thing before. I just want you to rotate with the axes. Maybe instead I just compare itself That's true. Hmm.
Hey, honey, it's Mom.
What I could do is like get this point and then get its length from here, and that could represent a full rotation.
Me again. That's just $100.
So get its
for 4 lines
distance
and unlimited
from
welcome. Plus 4 phones, no trade-in
the
needed.
starting location.
It's Mom, America's best network.
So
Verizon. That's
what I
we're
could
talking
do,
about. I'll send you text.
America's best network based on root metrics, best overall mobile network
and
performance.
then do
Second half
this, and
2025.
then just
4 new lines,
set
unlimited
the
welcome and offer.
starting
See Verizon.com for
location.
details.
No, we don't want that. So, okay, this changes no matter, that stays the same no matter what. Now we get the But look how fast it changes. I don't think that's going to work out too great. How much you guys want to bet? I bet you 5 cookies that it's not going to turn out great. Oh, he's spinning around. Woo! Yo, what's up, Screen Apple? How are you doing today? God bless you, by the way, man. This is ridiculous. I just want him to rotate around the freaking planet, man. Well, if this represents a full 180, right? And this would just represent, like, anywhere would just represent, like, its degree on here. You have, what are you making, Fall Guys? Astrobot Edit? I'm working on what started off as a game jam project with a group of people. I'm working on a game called In the Clouds. It's about managing a little village in the clouds. So your character starts off with basically nothing. You can build your cloud out, and as you build your cloud out, you start getting villagers, and you can get them to do things. I know it's not the best explanation ever, but there's still a lot to work out in the game, so it's really hard for me to give like a definite answer, if that makes sense. But yeah, you can place buildings, you can build clouds, you can harvest. Right now they're circles, but you can harvest fruit and hydrate your cloud. One of the aspects of our game is withering, so if you don't manage your cloud well, it'll start to wither away, and you'll notice like cloud tiles be removed from your cloud that you're on. And then on top of that, we're working on currently we're working on the cloud control aspect of the game, which is where you would go to collect resources and perform actions to get resources. But that is not going too well, as you can see. So let's see, 180 degrees. I'm bad with math, particularly trigonometry. But the idea is that this essentially represents a percentage of this 180 degree here. I'm interested as to why this doesn't automatically reset after a full 360. So I guess we're gonna be like 360. Half of that would be 180.
Zyrtec presents Zyrtalk with scientist Andy.
Hey there! Spring allergies are ramping up, so here are some tips for how to prepare for them. Avoid outdoor activities in the early morning when pollen count is at its highest.
At its highest.
Keep
Hold
your
up,
air
I
with air conditioners and
do
air
not want to
purifiers.
listen to this.
It's also important to check the weather and
Nice. I just want him to rotate with his movement, which should have been easily enough achieved with just setting the orient to movement, rotation to movement, true rotate toward the direction of acceleration using rotation rate at the rate of rotation change. Maybe I need to turn that on. Imagine it works. I would be so mad. As you can see, it doesn't work. I feel like it worked. It might work a little bit better than what it was. Hold up, we'll see right now. Nope. Hmm. We're definitely going to have to set the actor's rotation. So I'm going to rotate location at the same time. Newton cannon simulation? That's what it feels like right now, right? You're just like, "Whoa." It's actually pretty funny, but not exactly what we're going for. I want like a very smooth transition. The frustrating aspect, sorry, I can't speak English, is that I'm trying to, I guess this is no longer previous location. Set the previous location prior to us moving forward, which we're clearly doing. We're storing the location before adding movement, and for some strange reason, that is not storing correctly. If I were to do this and move, it'll just stay 0, 0, 0 because we're not storing the information correctly. It's instantaneous, which is ridiculous. Previous location. So apparently there is an issue with using this method because it doesn't give us the best rotation. And I have a feeling eventually we'll have to take in to, because we can move altitude wise, right? Like if I'm player is here, he can move, you know, between a min and max distance of that. So eventually we'll have to take into consideration the distance from the center. But right now I'm just trying to get him to rotate. It's not working. It's quite infuriating, actually. We get the actor's location. We get the radius, but we really don't want the radius. In fact, I think what we're gonna want is the player's Z. But other than that, we need to find a way to get the previous location. Boom, 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 boom. Move forward, because it automatically moves forward. It moves forward regardless, right? Like it's progressively supposed to move forward. At some point, we'll probably incorporate some wind factor where the player will move depending on the strength of the wind and what direction the wind is moving. But for now, I'm just perpetual motion forward. And we're getting the rotation we want to see in regards to movement. Like we're moving around, but I'm having a hard time rotating around. I've gone and I've gotten the center of the planet, or essentially the up direction of the actor from the center of the planet. I've normalized it. I've then gotten the move direction from that by projecting the right vector onto the up direction the normalization of the up direction. And for some strange reason, I'm running into this issue where I can't store the actor's previous location before moving forward. Even though we've basically done that. It's like, oh, store it before you move. No, you don't say. They're saying store it before or after. That makes no sense to me. So what's going on with you, Mr. Apple? I guess I should call you Screen Apple. Mr. Apple sounds kind of weird, but what's going on with you, man? What do you like? Are you working on a game? What are you developing? What engine do you use? The whole shebang. This is making me so frustrated. First, calculate distance using the location from last frame. I mean, I guess I could just use the delta seconds to probably achieve this. I know that this, I want to say, uses the delta position already. This is add movement input is native to UE5, so I don't know if they're... Oh, you're a newbie. Or are you calling me a newbie? Either one is satisfactory, I guess. Although I might be a little offended. What engine are you using? How dare you? I'm thinking. I'm a newbie when it comes to rotating a freaking planet. You here to study? That's cool. Might not learn much in this situation because I'm not really doing much right now anyways. It's kind of ridiculous. The best studying you'll get is from, you know, obviously watching streams and etc., but primarily just doing. What engine do you use? Screen. I'm presuming UE5 if you're currently studying here on this channel. So I've set the last position here. I'm setting it after I move. So I guess I need to do this at the very end. And at the beginning. I mean, it won't really matter. We'll want to do this all afterwards. Even though our rotation is busted right now. Guaranteed it's just still gonna be... Yep. And I'm too lazy to append a message. Like, I mean, I could just do this and then add a break here. And then as we're going, I can check this, but I'll have to wait till I'm actually floating around. So let's do that. And let's go ahead and switch over here and figure out 258. Oh, so it's actually working this time. Why was it giving me 85, 92? So we're actually seeing something here now. However, no. Let's print string. Let's go ahead and Check this, or I guess this. Yeah. We want to check this here. Compile. I'm just debugging things to figure stuff out. And that's not going to work because we're not setting the previous location anymore. UE 5.7. Oh, that's cool. Yep. So how long you been? I know you say you're a newbie, but how long have you been working in UE5? Do you believe in UFO? I believe that UFO, if it exists, it's purely demonic. It is purely demonic. And I'm gonna sound crazy here, but that's only because I feel like I've encountered or I've had a UFO experience where I was like brought up in the air and I could feel the wind moving like past me. And the only reason why that happened to me is because like I was having like sleep paralysis, or like I was sleeping but it felt like I was in a dream, and I was like looking in my room and there was something off in my room, and what that was is there's 2 windows to my right. And everything looked normal except there was this light that kept like moving right past the windows above it, and I was like, there's no light on in this room. And I was like, I'm totally not in a dream, or I am in a dream. And then after that, I could feel all that wind, and like the whole entire scene broke down, and there was this like silhouette of this creature, and I told him, I said, in the name and blood of Christ of Nazareth, put me down. And then I could feel my body shortly after that start ascending back, and then everything turned back to normal. So I was like, well, if it is subjected to those commands, it's probably something demonic. But yeah, if it's real, because I don't even know, that could have just been a figment of my imagination, but based off my experience, if that's real, then you know. I just pull off this and say link. Can do that. What about you? Do you believe in UFO? Do you believe in UFO? I mean, so these are definitely different now, but especially on here, and I'm talking in regards to the game. We're 30, 12, 16, 12, 16. What if I press play? 34, 37, 43, 17, 60. Okay, so we are seeing changes here. However, we're getting 0, 0 from this. How does that make sense? Oh. 138, 138. And that's because they are the same exact thing. This is so lame. I'm doing everything I can, man. I'm like, get the actor's location, the previous location. I'm doing this prior to setting this, and this should be last frames at this point. but we're not going to get anything if I can't figure out how to do this. Which is ridiculous! This should be working. Why is this not working? I'm doing stuff before this, and then I'm setting the previous location after this. This is all happening in this current frame. I'm moving a direction, right? I'm performing actions. The previous location should still be the previous location from the last frame. And I'm even getting the actor's location after we move the character.
All that mess in the foreground. Try 1 month free.
So, is there a post-physics? Post-physics. Post. There's an async. By the way, guys, just so you know, I gotta keep updating everybody on this information here. We are currently hosting a jam, so if you haven't already, make sure to go by, join the jam. It's a Christian jam, Christian themed, although you're not subjected to that theme entirely. Although I would like to see you use both themes in your game. So yeah, if you haven't joined the jam, make sure to go join the jam. It's going to be about a month long, and it starts, I believe, the first of next month.
So long, Bowser.
I don't want to hear nothing about Bowser right now. I want to hear how to fix my issue. That is true. I could use velocity. However, I noticed this here. So we're going to try that one instead. I have a better feeling about this Juan. Oh, man. At least we're getting a vector now. Holy cow. Oh, we're not. Not anymore. It's back to 0. Darn it. Darn it! Empire of Bir Tawil. Current speed divided by sphere radius. Do you play this type of instrument, though?
Anderson Pack here to tell you, paying by bank could put your info at risk. Take Stacy. Stacy's about to pay straight from her bank account.
That's how you do it.
Not on my watch.
Wait, what?
Paying bills straight from your bank can lead hackers straight to you. Not a pro move. Pay with Visa. It's the safer thing to do. That's a pro move. Don't let me catch you paying by bank. I got eyes everywhere. Peace out, skis.
Okay.
Visa.
That was corny, dude. Peace out, skis. What am I supposed to do with that? How you doing, Safe? What are you up to, man? So another suggestion is to use the velocity. And if we get the length of this, this will give us our speed. And if we divide that by the radius, we'll get the radians per second. If we then multiply this by this, do I like WWE? I mean, do I find it entertaining? Yes. Do I like it in the sense that I watch it all the time? No. Although I think it's cool, I don't know. When I was younger, I thought it was something based on skill, and it kind of like threw me off when I found out it was like completely fake. And the acting's so over the top that it was easy for me to figure that out as a kid. Is this your first game? No, I've made games before. I've made games for game jams. I've made another game that did relatively well in the Android store, but that was with another person and in Unity. But yes, I have made another game. I've made several. Get planet rotation. This is ridiculous. Maybe I need to just set the actors. But I want to be able to do this with like the movement, so I'd have to redo the entirety of our input. I need to skip this song. That thing was like too... It was too like... If that makes sense. Oh, okay. Do you use ChatGPT to write games for you? No, I don't. I don't. Although I do use it to research and explore like possible ways to achieve something, but do I have it write for me? No. I write all of my own code. I write in C++, right? And I can use BPs in UE5. In fact, I'm already pursuing a batch in computer science, and I get A's in all my classes. So... It's just funny. People see me using Grok or ChatGPT. If you copy everything from that, that's a problem. But I can primarily write and do all this stuff on my own. It's the mathematical aspects that are difficult to achieve at times, because I am not a math wizard. Oh. I'm dissecting a children's toy and I feel like I'm defusing a bomb. Why would you dissect a children's toy? Safe. Your name implies that I should feel safe when I'm talking to you, but I really do not feel safe when I talk to you about 80 to 90% of the time. Want to see if this event here fires all the time, and before I do that, I might want to get rid of this. So that does fire. Sorry, get actor location. We're gonna get his location. We're going to, and this is to get a direction, but we can also get the distance by getting the length, which we then divide by this. But before we do that, I want to print this out, because I'm thinking if we can do this here, whenever we update, we can set the rotations in this event. The only issue is that the events only occur sometimes. Or I can set the previous location here and then try doing my stuff over here. No. Even when we have the previous location set on this event, we're still running into issues. However, if we do this in that event, we run into no issues whatsoever. Why that occurs, I do not know. But with that being said, indicates to me that we're gonna have to do these things here. Excuse me. Hopefully I didn't blow anyone's eardrums out. Yeah, what am I doing? Yes, AI writes my code. I do this and I'm doing this in Blueprint. Like, I literally interned at a game studio where I was working with so many cool things. It's like, whatever. If you guys want to get upset that people are utilizing AI, that's completely on you. But you know what? The people who are using AI are going to be the people of the future in some sense. I don't believe in using it in art and other aspects, but when it comes to research and figuring out like how to achieve something, I'm completely okay with using it. Yeah, have fun figuring out everything. Have fun scouring the internet for all your information. You're going to take a lot of time and research. But granted, you will learn that stuff better, which is always, in my opinion, the manual way to do it. Like, kudos to you, but at the same time, like, if I'm just trying to make a game and figure out all the ways that I can achieve something, like, hey, what can I do to achieve this? You can use this, 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 and this. Okay, I'll use that. You know, like, how could I have known the math formula for figuring out how to get the rotations? Like, it's easy to understand, like, what you need to plug into what once you know the formula, but if you don't know the formula, you're not gonna know how to achieve those results. And I don't know any mathematicians. I can't be like, hey, dude, what formula do I need for this? You know? The point I'm making is that AI is alright to use in some case scenarios. It's not alright to use in other case scenarios.
So you want to start a business. You might think you need a team of people and fancy tech skills, but you don't. You just need GoDaddy Arrow. I'm Walton Goggins, and as an actor,
how much have I made? I have made no money.
I'm doing. GoDaddy Arrow
I've made like $4.
everything you need to grow a business.
I made one game with someone else and they completely
It'll write social posts for you and even set you up
they let me down.
calendar. Get started at godaddy.com/.
I designed the game and did a lot of art for the game, and then when the game released, it had really good ratings after a while, and it had over 10,000 downloads. I still get hold up. I still get Unity reports for that game. But I haven't been able to get a hold of the guy. It was someone I went to school with. So make sure you always set up a contract with people of some sorts, guys, or you have some sort of way of making sure and ensuring that you like get the money that you deserved and worked hard for. That's the biggest thing I've learned from that. Okay, so we're gonna probably have to divide this because the planet radius, I think that might get affected by how far the player is from the radius as well. So, but you can even see here it's not doing the thing. And I love when I put print string and it's like, let's throw it into duration. That's how long the print string will last. Nope, I want to see. I want to see with my eyes what this number is. And I remember it being very small. And you can see it shifting. Let's see what degrees we're getting here. I'm telling you, we're going to have to figure out something. I'll be probably looking online for formulas. And this is like the true case scenario here. Like, yeah, you can use AI to do stuff, but obviously AI is not always going to be correct in its searches. But it's always nice to just look and see what options you have. So then you get like a wider terminology of what you can actually look up online. And I think it's because we're thinking in like 180, but we really need to do like 360 here because that's the encompassment of it all. And we have to exit out of the game now. Replay. Even with the 360 degrees.
The order laws of J music. Dope beats too.
Also, Screen Apple, just so you know, like, you shouldn't base what you do off of how much money you make. If that's why you're making games, or if that's why you're doing anything in life, I highly recommend you find something else to do. You're never going to be great. You're never going to reach your maximum if money is your objective. Right? Like, is somebody a good father because of how much money they make? No. They're a good father because of how much they love their kid. Right? And sometimes people don't love their kids, which leads them to not being good fathers. It's a sad truth, but yeah. You can't do it for monetary gain. People like that, they wither out and die. Because if you're not making money, your passion and your creativity will just, it'll shrink immensely. I know we could probably fix all this by probably multiplying this by delta seconds to smooth it over, but that doesn't help the fact that we're not really seeing the results we want to see. So I'm gonna probably have to look up the math somewhere and figure out the math on my own. And you can kind of figure out that this is bogus. They're like, oh, use the old location. I don't think that is the case. I think what we're gonna want to do is figure out where we're at here, right? Like if we know we can go 360 degrees around this thing, or we want 360 degrees of rotation, you know, what is a representation of these 360 degrees? You know, it would be, or I guess what would 0 be? And then we rotate around, we hit 0 again.
Every Monday, I'd stare at the books and think, one bad week and we're dead. 4 years into our startup, our postage bill swelled to over $1 million a year. Sounds impressive.
So we'll probably have to create some function.
I sold, hustled, and begged for every customer. Mike
You
Capel,
begged?
Patriot Software's founder. Those near
I begged every customer, please buy something from me. Fine. Fine, I'll give you $100. Just stop crying. Please, guys, I beg you, click the subscribe button. Donate. Please. Please. Honestly, man, if that's how he feels, good for him. Sometimes you gotta beg. But yeah, we need to figure out, like, trigonometry. Yeah, so we do need a center point. We need the radius and an angle, the angle in degrees of radians. The cosine of 0. Can you give me good advice for game development? Figure out if you love game development, right? Because if you love it and you enjoy it, you'll always do it. And the main advice that I have to say is always do it. Always do it, right? Like, you're not going to get good at something if you don't do it. If you're not programming every day, if you're not 3D modeling every day, then you're just not going to get good at it. So with that being said, you need to separate game development into the hats that encompass it, right? There's many hats and essentially many different categories that go into game development, which is like there's voice acting, there's programming, there's 3D, visual effects, scripting, all sorts of things, right? So look into game development, look at the jobs inside of it, figure out which one better suits you, and then master that one, and then get good at another one, right? But make sure whatever aspect of game development that you like, you love doing it. Because if you don't love to do it, you're not going to have fun doing it, and you're just not going to do it. That's a cold, hard truth. Find an engine you like, right? There's 3 different engines that are really accessible to people. Godot, Unity, Unreal. Find one, use it, make a square move. If you don't like making the square move, then you won't like it at all. So what I'm thinking right now, guys, is if we were to go over to the map over here, boinky, boink, save selected, I don't care. We go over here to the cloud, and let's say we start off at 0. If we rotate this guy, you'll see that it rotates circularly, which is what we want. So we need to translate that x value or that float value to a degree or a radian.
Steve. YOLO. Stay vigilant. He's very persistent.
So we're going to be studying trigonometry for a bit. A radian and a degree. We're most likely going to want a degree instead of a radian. Yeah, so we're going to need degrees, because that divides a circle into 360 arbitrary parts. And the circle's radius. So radian would equal this, making them natural units, essential for simplifying formulas in calculus, physics, and advanced mathematics. Oh, great. We want radians to degrees. We would multiply 180 by pi, which is like 3.4. Use basic trigonometry. Come on, Raleigh, this is basic. Based on a center point, HK, radius, R in a degree O. Use basic trigonometry. X equals H plus R times cos the angle. Oh no, he's gonna watch math. Oh. Yeah, if you don't like math, guys, leave the programming to someone else. Get into art. I'm about to get copy striked for that song.
Now the angle can be measured in degrees or radians. So you need to be familiar with both.
Basic trigonometry here,
See
guys.
a little circle on top, then you know the angle is.
Obviously, I know all these things.
If you don't see that circle,
that's
then
not
the
a good.
angle is in radians. For example, if theta is equal to 2, then you know that is in radians. So this is 2 radians. So anytime you see a number without this little circle, it's radians. Now, what is a radian exactly? What's the definition of a radian? A radian is basically the measure of the central angle of a circle where the arc length is equal to the radius of the circle. So let's draw a circle. Okay, that is a terrible circle. Let's do that one more time. So let's say this is the center of the circle. The radius is the distance between the center of the circle and any point on the circle. Now let's say if we draw the length of the radius, but as an arc, let's say that distance is also r. If we connect the center to the edge of that point, then that's also the radius. So whenever you have a situation like this, where the arc length is equal to r, and is the same as the radius of the circle, then the angle that forms is 1 radian. So this angle is 1 radian. So that's the definition of a radian. A radian is the angle that occurs whenever the arc length, which is basically this distance here, is equal to the radius. In fact, if you want to find the angle theta, you can divide the arc length, which is known as s, by the radius, and that will give you the angle in radians. So keep this in mind. Let's say this is r and this is r. And here's s, the arc length. So if we need to find the angle theta, simply divide the arc length by the radius. So let's say if we have a circle, and let's say the arc length is 12 centimeters. So that's the distance between.
So we would just divide that by the radians and then convert the radians into degrees.
C is the center of the circle.
Because if we were looking at this earlier, guys, what we were thinking of doing was this from kind of the very beginning. So this would be our S, this would be our radius. And when it comes to the radius, because this radius can shift based off of the height. We'll figure that out later. But that being said, if we have our radius, gosh, can I'll undo all this? I can. Let's say this is like the player's position right here. We just need to get the radius, and then essentially we need to just get this. So we get the distance from here, from the beginning. The only issue here, though, is if I were to, like if we're over here, it's going to go straight, which is important for the radius. Okay, so we need the radius. All right.
Now let's say that the radius of the circle is 6 centimeters. So that's the distance between the center and a point on the circle. What is the angle theta in radians? What is the angle? So to find the angle, it's the arc length divided by the radius. So it's 12 centimeters
divided by 6.
6 centimeters.
Which would give us 2 radians.
Or 2 radians. Personally, I like to think of the radius as being the length per unit radian. I think of it as being 6 centimeters per radian.
So it's probably better to do every frame, but if I'm we get the actor's location. We're going to need the planet's radius. We need to essentially add these things. Because we know the radius is 5,000. And this radius is 5,000. Which means this will be 5,000. So we need to find this. Or this. Which would be essentially this minus this. Get center of planet. And what we're going to do is make a vector here because we don't want to just add this on top of this because it'll add it across the board. What we want to do is get the up vector, which would essentially be our Z. We're going to multiply this by the radius. And that's going to give us essentially 5,000 times Z. And then we can add this or this on top of this. I'll just do this. I don't care. Looks cleaner. And there's one aspect. Then we get the actor's location. Actor's location is going to be a little bit different. So we're going to have to figure out what to do with this radius, because the radius at which we rotate is going to be dependent on the radius of the player. And I feel like this is going to shift and move. So maybe we don't multiply it by this planet radius. We need to figure out the difference between the radius. Which would be the actor's Z at the time. No, we'll just leave it like this for now, because I'm maybe overthinking this. So now we need to get the distance subtract. So we're going to subtract our current position from this position. Then we're going to divide that position, which I think beforehand they divided it by the player's radius. We're subtracting these, getting that. And then why it divides by the radius, I don't know. Maybe that's a part of it that'll come later on. But we know the radius is 5,000. We need to figure out this distance here. It's 12 centimeters. We need to find the radians. So it would be this divided, or we need the length, huh? Vector length. This divided, actually let's just print this out. Print string. And I don't think this is going to work either. We do only need this, but yeah. Yep. Z. Let's make, split this, make vector 2D x z. So our y, that's the issue here too, is that we have this z, and then we have this x, but we're working in a 2D atmosphere. Sorry, x and z. And we have this 2D atmosphere that we want to work on. Yeah, I have a little more time today. Yes. Yes. Okay. I wasn't thinking about this from this perspective. Go only up or down with that? Be rolling on the x-axis, so maybe this is why we divide it by the 5,000. What if we take this and divide that? Go back in time. Before we did all this, and then let's try dividing that by 5,000. Or I guess in this case, the planet radius, which is way more, like 25,000, I think. It's not 5,000. I don't know why I've been saying 5,000. So by the game standards, we've already passed 25%. I'm presuming this is going to take us from 0 to 1 as we rotate around the world. Or it'll be like 2 radions. We haven't even hit the half side of things yet. We're far from it, actually. Okay. Looks like dividing it works there, but now we want to take this and then divide this. So this is what we're getting right now.
And that way you can see how the unit centimeters will cancel. And in the end, you should get radians. So that's how you could find the angle. Let's work on another example. So let's say the radius is divided by 4 inches per radian.
Newborn parents, this is what you need for wake windows. You want the looker play kit as soon
So it becomes 6 over 18. So we have 6 pi over 18, but we can write 18 as 6 times 3. And we can cancel a 6. So therefore, the final answer is pi over 3. So 60 degrees is equal to pi over 3 radians. Let's try another example. Convert 150 degrees into radians. Feel free to pause the video and try this problem. So just like before, we're going to multiply by pi divided by 180. So let's begin by getting rid of a 0. So now we have 15 pi divided by 18. 15 is 5 times 3. 18 is 6 times 3. So we can get rid of a 3. So therefore, the final answer is 5 pi divided by 6.
I like how he goes from degrees to radian.
Try these 2 examples. The angle.
But he doesn't tell you how to get...
Over 3. So negative 2 degrees. 80 divided... Our final answer is 330. Convert 11 pi over 6 into degrees. So once again, let's multiply by 180 divided by pi. And let's cancel pi. Now we can write 180 as 30 times 6. So let's get rid of 6. So we just got to multiply 11 times 30. 11 is basically 10 plus 1. And if we distribute 30 to it, 30 times 10 is 300. And 30 times 1 is 30. So our final answer is 330 degrees.
So we need to take... We've essentially gotten radians, and now we need to multiply it by 180, sorry, divide, I wish there was a, so just float 180 divided by 3.14. This by this, and this should give us the degrees, I pray. Oh, nope. We want vector here. The vector length. Really? It was ridiculous. Float. And I'll know right now that that's off because there's no way that it's already at that level. But I guess that is very small in comparison. So let's set actor rotation. Did I get rid of it? No, I did not. And look at that. Praise the Lord for allowing me to learn some math today. This is the only issue here. So it's working, but now we got to work on the up movement of these as well, which we'll get more into in the future. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's working. We're just going to have to figure out the movement up and down as well. But yeah, other than that, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you all to the people who came in. If you haven't already, make sure to like, follow, subscribe. Let's lead out on prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing us here today. I pray that you soften my heart for the people that come in here and don't always say the things that seem friendly. I pray that you soften my heart for them, Heavenly Father, so that I can show love and give advice in a friendly, loving way that makes them feel welcomed. Other than that, God, please just give me patience and give patience to the people that are in here as well. Keep leading us both to your Son, to His glory. May we constantly be moving in a direction that gives us the peace that surpasses all things on this planet, Heavenly Father. Other than that, God, in the name and blood of your Son, Christ of Nazareth, amen. All right, I'm going to bounce, guys. Thank you so much for joining today. I've got to go do parent things, but other than that, it was absolutely great to have you here. If you didn't know, I'm running a game jam. Links in the Discord. Discord link is in the description. Much love. God bless. And